Hey everyone, Ridden here, and thank you for coming. And today we're going to be taking a deeper look at one of the most anticipated films of the past 2 years. Coming off of Endgame, many questions swirled around where exactly the MCU would be heading. In the aftermath of Black Widow, The Eternals, the MCU Disney Plus TV shows, and Spider-Man No Way Home, even more complications, challenges, and questions have risen now in the face of our favorite heroes. Scott Derrickson and company presented us with quite the experience in 2016's Doctor Strange, and many of us were shocked when it was revealed he wouldn't be returning for the eventual sequel, and even more shocked when we found out the illustrious Sam Raimi would now be at the helm. Expectantly, the MCU rises into this next theatrical issue of the Sorcerer Supreme with all of the hype one could ask for. Here are my thoughts on the latest installment into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Welcome back everyone, and getting right to why we're all here, let's talk about Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness and all of the chaos that ensued. I went into this movie absolutely giddy with excitement, much in the same way we all showed up for Spider-Man No Way Home just a few months ago. And much like then, I'll say now that I didn't feel let down in the least in what we were given in return. Oftentimes, especially nowadays, in the midst of such rampant and outrageous fandom theory crafting, we set ourselves up for huge disappointment by not even appreciating the movies and shows we actually get because we're expecting to get something more outlandish that in no way probably even fits in the story being told. Doctor Strange 2 wastes no time getting right down to business, and I really enjoyed that about it. The movie surprisingly is very much self-contained, and outside of the obvious big huge crossover moments and reveals, it's created around a pretty simple plot. I do believe this may be the first time in the MCU though where you may be required to watch something prior to seeing it to really get the full gist, because WandaVision provides all the context you need to really understand the emotional significance of it all, with Wanda's longing and grief for what she's lost, ultimately never really having. It was pretty much assumed at large that Wanda would end up being the villain, but in some ways I didn't think it would be our Wanda, but maybe another one from another universe that our Wanda would have to help fight. But instead, the entire movie is basically Wanda chasing down America Chavez to steal her power from her, that being the ability to punch through and to other universes at will, so she can find one where her children are alive and be able to protect them should any other threats arrive. Luckily for America, she lands in the 616 universe at the right time in the right place near Christine's wedding and bumps into our Stephen Strange and Sorcerer Supreme Wong. The pacing was up and down for me, but consistent enough not to break my focus, and I felt that the humor was well placed but still allowed for the performers to levy serious emotions and carry heavy moments when needed. I won't give the film a score, but I'll say I liked it a lot more than I didn't. The movie sets up much larger things within the MCU now, with the threat of incursions brought to the forefront, which ties back to the Secret Wars arcs from the comics and possibly warring between universes. America Chavez had about the role size I figured she would, as this was really a continuation and clashing of WandaVision's plot and where Doctor Strange was heading, with some of the poor decision making his character seems to be akin to regardless of the universe. Elizabeth Olsen is the best version of Wanda Maximoff in this film that we have ever seen, and that's saying something considering the performance she delivered in WandaVision. There were several moments throughout this movie that she just completely dominated. Like when Strange tells her that she created her children out of magic, and she says, "Isn't that what all mothers do?" I was sad to see Wanda go in the end, but she kinda had to after wrecking shop the entire movie, destroying Carmitage and rampaging outside of that. Thing is, you really do get her grief, although she's a villain, so you don't exactly hate her for it. I'm sure we'll get to see her her again at some point in some way, because Elizabeth Olsen is far too excellent a performer and embodies the role of Wanda Maximoff too well for Marvel to never use her again. Much like many of you, I unfortunately had some aspects of the movie spoiled for me prior to seeing it, from Twitter and TikTok alike. So, going in, I had already seen still shots of the members of the Illuminati preparing to take on Wanda with quite the shocking lineup. Once Strange in America made it to more of those steps, I knew exactly where we were headed. The unexpected cameos and nods in this movie left me reeling, to say the least. I was at a loss for words when Strange finally made it to the Illuminati chamber, led by a squadron of Ultron bots. I was sadly one of the people who did believe we would get a version of superior Iron Man, maybe even played by Tom Cruise as rumored, but that of course didn't happen. So here we get Mordo as Sorcerer Supreme of the universe, Anson Mount returning as Black Bolt, King of the Inhumans, which is something I never thought we would see Kevin Feige do. Haley Atwell back as the first Avenger, Captain Carter. Lashana Lynch as Earth 838's Captain Marvel. And last but not least, John Krasinski as Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic, the leader of the Fantastic Four.
And the smartest man alive, Reed Richards of the Fantastic Four. Hello, Stephen.
Yes, Kevin Feige really did it. Because if that wasn't enough, Patrick Stewart showing up as Professor Charles Xavier in the yellow hover chair and green suit had to absolutely blow your mind, because it did mine. This was probably the hardest I've ever marked out in an MCU film to date, or any movie for that matter, because everything fans have been asking for was actually happening. The Inhumans TV show was terrible, but everyone pretty much agrees that Anson Mount as Black Bolt was very, very good casting. Haley Atwell is beloved, and as we just saw Captain Carter in What If, seeing another version here with a jetpack was shocking, to say the least. I love Lashana Lynch as it is, so the idea that in this universe Maria became Captain Marvel and not Carol, that's just incredibly exciting for me. And John Krasinski is definitely the fan casting choice of the decade by Marvel, and I'm really hoping this means he's going to continue in the role and direct the Fantastic Four movie that John Watts just stepped away from, and possibly even bringing his wife Emily Blunt as the Invisible Woman, Sue Storm. So that was great. But then Wanda washes them all quickly with little hesitation. I know there's going to be so much uproar and debate about how this all went down, but it seemed like the air was sucked out of my theater immediately once the Illuminati confronted Wanda.
Ultron. Wanda, stop.
Now, I have to say this. I understand that the movie needed to show how much of a threat Wanda was and how OP she had become. But to me, it just seems so wasteful to have her completely wreck these characters we just met, who, based on the comics and the lore, are supposed to be some of the most fierce and intelligent warriors out there. Reed Richards literally pulls up as the smartest man in the world and tells Wanda exactly how to kill Black Bolt. And then, when Wanda takes away Black Bolt's mouth, he tries to scream and basically kills himself, which is something I don't think Black Bolt would have done, as in the comics he's had people try to disable him before and he's remained calm. And once he's dead, Reed just tries to grab her and gets, well, I don't know what happened to him, but he dies for sure. And then she takes out Captain Carter and Captain Marvel pretty handedly after they stand there and watch her kill the other two team members. This was hands down probably one of the most insane moments ever in the MCU, and not even 10 minutes later she snaps Xavier's neck telepathically. I guess the question now is, do we think we'll see any of these characters return or appear in our own 616 universe? The movie never really slows down much, and I enjoyed the flow throughout. There are a couple of different Macguffins presented at different points, but in the end, it always circles back to America and her power. The addition of the dream walking aspect in Evil and Zombie Strange were very cool to see, and I for one really liked the flashback from the Illuminati via Charles, showing our Doctor Strange how Universe 838 Steven died, with the backdrop of Titan as Thanos lays impaled. In the end, it wasn't the Book of Vishanti or the Darkhold or Strange taking America's power that did the trick, but America learning to control her power and helping Wanda realize what she had become by putting her front and center in front of her kids. I really thought we'd get a White Vision cameo at some point, but it really wasn't needed. The ending was decent enough. Wong lived, which is something I didn't see happening, and continued as Sorcerer Supreme. And America seems to now be training to be a wizard. Strange, it would seem, may have been influenced either by the Darkhold or Evil Strange, now rocking the third eye himself. So I believe that this is either some evil consequence of wielding the Darkhold, or like in the comics, a new manifestation of the Eye of Agamotto, which isn't necessarily an evil thing. The post-credit scenes were very underwhelming for me. The first one was okay, but kind of confused me as we see Steven now cool and one with his third eye he was just freaking out about. Charlize Theron appears, which was very cool, I'll admit, and it seems she's portraying Clea Strange from the comics, who was the daughter of the Dark Dimension's prince and niece of Dormammu, eventually becoming Stephen Strange's wife. So I get that it's a cool casting and debut, but I would have really liked to have gotten a bit more. And the last post-credit scene seemed like a waste to me, as it was just another cameo of Bruce Campbell from the 838 universe portraying Pizza Poppy, saying it's over. It's cool that Sam Raimi and Bruce are friends and everyone knows Bruce appears in all of Sam's movies, but wasting a post-credit scene on that was just not what I wanted to see. In closing, I do believe this film delivered on much of the hype that surrounded it. Unfortunately, with movies like this, there can sometimes be so much anticipation and rumor mongering and fantasy plotting that regardless of what you actually end up getting, it always just falls short. And I think that's what Multiverse of Madness may have fallen victim to in the eyes of some of the fandom. But it was yet another successful outing in my mind for the MCU and the fans that love their content. And I personally can't wait to watch the film again to try to pick out even more subtle nods than I noticed this time. I will of course be continuing to cover all interesting works of theatrical content from the likes of Marvel, DC, and Star Wars, and films from all walks of life that I have the pleasure of watching. And if you feel so inclined, I would love to have you back here week in and week out to continue to cover it all with us. Again, guys, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and click that bell for notifications if you've enjoyed our content here tonight. Jump down in the comments and let me know your thoughts. And while you're at it, be sure to check out some of the other content here on the channel. All of the necessary links are listed here below for you to keep up with the coming content and shareables. Please be sure to follow me on all social media platforms, or just the one you use most frequently. We are slowly but surely building a community here, and I would personally love for you to be a part of that. And last but not least, we have a merch store. So whether you see something you like or just simply want to support the channel, head on over to our shop and grab something, or grab everything. But again, thank you so much, guys and gals, for visiting here with us today. I really appreciate each and every viewing minute of your time you've given us. There's loads of content we'll be sending your way, so I'll be seeing you. But for now, be blessed. And it was written.
Across the nighttime, the city sleep inside. Yeah, hear her voice, shake my window, sweet.